to record this as well.
Sure.
Right?
So you explain in such a simple manner. I don't think we can understand the basics through any other thing. This would be a good starting point for us.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
I have uploaded last class videos.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, we've seen that. Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
They are now available, and this also now we are. Okay, so let us start. Okay, so Monica, just hold on to your question that you have typed on the chat. We will talk about it and it will become clear when we actually start doing our CFA runs. Okay?
Thank you. So just one thing, my system is Windows 7 and 32-bit. It doesn't support Lavan. So do we have some other package that I can install?
No, is it not getting supported?
No, it says 4.0.2 is not supported with this.
There are 32-bit versions also. So just search on the net with 32-bit version. Okay? Just check. Okay. Right. So the first thing that we are going to do is what we discussed in the last class. We are going to test our CFA model or measurement. Rashidul, everybody please mics on. Please mute yourself, everybody. Everybody please mute yourself. Okay. Okay, so we will now start with the first analysis, which is the confirmatory analysis of the leadership model. So I have launched my RStudio, and the first thing that I will do is I will set my working directory, data folder, and then I will load my workspace. My screen is visible to everybody, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I have loaded my workspace, and now we are going to work with our script, which is lecture cfa-sem.r. I told you that we will have to install Lavan package, XML and SEM plot. Okay, but now because I have loaded my workspace, I don't have to install the package again. I will just call Lavan by running the command library Lavan, library XML, and library SEM plot. Okay. Data is also available there. So data R&D is there. 557 observations of 26 variables. I don't need to read my data file again. Okay. And then this was the first thing that we did. I told you that when we are writing our commands, this was the CFA run that we were talking about in the last class. And if we are defining the three latent factor, we said that EMP is equal to tilde. Okay, is equal to tilde stands for the latent factor EMP is measured by, and what are the items? They are E1, E2, and E3. This was the syntax that we followed. Similarly, we said LEX is equal to tilde L1, L2, L3, and TO is equal to tilde. That means is measured by the latent factor TO is measured by TO1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we said EMP double tilde. EMP co-varies with LEX. So we are modeling these double direction arrows between these latent factors. So we said EMP double tilde LEX, EMP double tilde TO, and LEX double tilde TO, right? And then we said that we will put the whole model declaration within these single quotes, right? So this was the single quote we said. This is the single quote here, and this is the single quote here. So that is what we had done. And then we said we will save it in this name lead, right? You can give any name. I have, because I'm working on the leadership model, so I gave it a name lead. And this is exactly what we are doing here. We are saving the whole declaration in a variable lead. The next thing that we do is we run confirmatory factor analysis. What is the model? The model is lead. Data is data R&D, and standard error, we let this remain by default. Okay. And then we ask the tool to give us the output by running this command summary fit. Okay, so this summary fit gives us the output of our CFA, and we tell the tool, give us the fit measures, right? We want the fit of the model, and also we want the standardized output. That is what we are going to work with. Okay, this was the command through which we plot the SEM output or CFA output. And then, okay, so let us run this, right? So I'm running my lead first. I'm declaring the model. Okay. Then I run CFA. I have run CFA here. And then I ask the tool to print the summary of the output. This is what we had seen in the last class. Summary was estimator maximum likelihood. Okay, this is the default estimator. Okay, number of observations 557. Number of free parameters is 23 that it has to estimate. Okay, I will tell you what it means. We will calculate it in a while. Test statistic, this is the chi-square of our model. Chi-square is 118 and degree of freedom is 32. And the p-value is less than 0.05. Remember, we were saying in the chi-square test, when we are doing factor analysis, we want our chi-square test to fail, right? We don't want to reject our H0, right? So we want our p-value to be greater than 0.05. Then we said we will look at CFI, comparative fit index. We also said we will look at RMSEA value in the output. And there is a SRMR output as well, which is standardized root mean square residual. And then these were the loadings, latent variables. So the EMP, latent factor EMP is measured by EMP1, EMP2, EMP3. These are the three observed items. Okay. On the leftmost corner, this column estimate. Estimate here means unstandardized loading. Remember, unstandardized loading. And the rightmost column, standardized.all, represents the standardized loading. If I don't give in my command summary, in the summary command, if I don't give summary is equal to true, then standardized is equal to true, you will not get the standardized output. But we need the standardized output because we will compute our composite reliability and average variance extracted that I mentioned in the last class. We will do it today. So these are the loadings, unstandardized loading on the leftmost side and the standardized loading on the rightmost side. Then I also told you in the last class that one of the items is associated or is tied to value 1. Why is this done? This is done because when the tool has to estimate the latent factor EMP, it needs to understand what is the range, the lower limit and the upper limit within which it should estimate this unknown latent factor. So we will have to tie one of the paths. Even if you don't do, see in our command, we did not say explicitly that you should tie any one of these items. But by default, even if you don't mention, it will take the first item to be tied to 1. So it will consider the scale of the latent factor as the same as the scale of the first item in our declaration. Is that okay? So first item will by default be tied to 1 even if you don't tell the tool anything specifically. So one of the items is going to be tied, and then this p-value in the middle, p-value is saying that these standardized loadings are highly significant, okay? And it is saying that p-value is 0.000. Now remember, one thing that I want to just mention here is whenever in statistical software you get this kind of an output, when you get this kind of an output which says p-value is given as 0.000, okay? Please never write in your research papers p-value was 0.000. You should write in your research papers p-value was less than 0.001. If it is given as 0.000, then you should report in your research papers that p-value was less than 0.001. If you get an output something like this 0.00, then you should always report p-value was less than 0.01. Please do not write in your research papers that my p-value was 0.00. Okay, it doesn't make any sense. You should always report it like this and never as this. Just keep in mind. So the tool is saying that it is, what does this mean? That it means that it is significant at 99.9%. That means your alpha is 0.1%. Your level of significance is 0.1%. This is your alpha if your p-value is coming out to be less than 0.001. Is that
Sir, I
okay?
have a question.
Yes.
So normally for a p-value of 000 or 0.001, I have been reporting it as less than 0.05. So is this a better way to do it?
No, you can report it as 0.05, but if it is coming to be less than 0.0, so for example, if you're getting an output like this 0.000, then why not report it as less than 0.001? You are actually saying that your result is much stronger.
Correct.
Your alpha value, alpha is even less, okay?
Correct.
That means it is more accurate.
Correct.
Is that okay?
Sure.
Yeah? So, all right. So the next thing that we saw was covariances, and covariances estimate, that means the unstandardized value. So unstandardized is covariance, and the rightmost column, which is standardized dot all, is the standardized value, which is correlation. So the correlation between the two latent factor is 0.56, 0.667 and 0.718. Is that okay? And then the last one is variances that it has estimated of the factors. This is something that we don't really use. You should only look for these values should not be negative, because variances cannot be negative. Variances are squared numbers. Okay. If it is negative, then that means there is some error in the analysis and you need to look at it. Okay. Now then the next thing that we did was we plotted the output. This is also something that we had done in the last class, right? This is something that I showed. We are seeing these. This is just for your understanding. When you are writing in your research paper, drawing in your research paper, I will recommend that you draw it using tools. Okay, Word has you can insert, you can draw circles, boxes, arrows, and so on. So draw it by hand. That looks much more cleaner than simply copying these images. This is just to help us understand what is happening here. Okay, what are we essentially doing? Then the next thing I showed in the last class was fit measures. So it gives us all the fit measures of our model, right? We said we will look at the chi-square. Chi-square is 118. Degree of freedom is 32. P-value is less than 0.001. CFI, RMSEA, lower and upper limit, okay, SRMR and GFI, goodness of fit index. Now, when you are reporting, I don't remember if I told you this, but when you are reporting, you will say that the model showed good fit with the data, and then in parenthesis you will write chi-square for 32 degrees of freedom was 118 point whatever it was 28, and then you will say p-value was less than 0.001, semicolon, you will say my RMSEA was equal to 0.07, semicolon, CFI was 0.98, GFI was 0.96, okay. And if you want, you can report SRMR, but that is not needed. If you report just these 4 index, you can, and you can also add the relative chi-square, which I mentioned. Relative chi-square by DF was, if you just divide 118 by 32, okay, so you will get that number also. So we simply say chi-square, relative chi-square is 118.28 divided by 32. So my relative chi-square is 3.70, semicolon, okay, and then full stop. Now what you are saying here essentially that the fit confirmatory analysis that you have done on the data using your theorized model shows good fit with the data. That means your model is a good representation of the reality of the data that you collected from the sample. So this is how you will write it in the research paper and then go forward.
So the p-value should be higher, no, for chi-square?
Yes. So at this time, I'm just showing you how to report it. Okay. This is
Correct.
not the best model. We will have to better this model. I'm just showing how you will write it. At this time, this is not the best result that we can report. Okay. So we will have to improve the model.
So sir, if we just report RM, SEA, CFI and GFI, is that good enough?
Yes. And your relative chi-square. So you
And is that fine, the relative chi-square?
No, chi-square, this relative chi-square is also less than point, it should be less than 3, okay? And you will, remember it is not that you will not report chi-square. You will report chi-square also, okay? You will report chi-square for my degree of freedom, 32, it was this much, okay? So you will report 1 index, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You will report all these 5 indexes. It is not that you will hide some and report some, okay? And if your chi-square fails, then you will have to show if one, so there are 2 conditions. If one passes, rest assured that 2 to 5, all these indices will also pass. Okay, so if one will pass, rest all will also pass. If one fails, that means your p-value is coming to be less than 0.05. Okay, if one fails, then you need to show that 2 to 5 all pass. All indices pass. Okay. If one fails, you should show that 2 is good, 3 is good, 4 is good, and 5 is good. If this happens, then you can stake a claim that your model fits well with the data, which amounts to saying is a good representation of the reality. Is that okay? Right? So this is what you will have to do. Correct? Okay, now let us talk about one thing which I want to talk about. I'm just seeing where will I, okay, here is the space that I can use. Okay, now there is one thing which we call as degree of freedom. Okay, degree of freedom in CFA models, which is essentially used to test the fit of the model using the chi-square distribution. Now, how is degree of freedom computed? The formula for degree of freedom is k minus 1 by 2, okay? It is actually k plus 1, not minus. It is not minus, it is k plus 1 by 2 minus hash theta. This is the formula for degree of freedom in measurement models in SEM. Actually, if you want, what is k? K is number of items, right, that we have been doing since our discussion on reliability. We have been talking about k as the number of items. And what is hash theta? Hash theta is the number of parameters to be estimated in the CFA or the SEM model, right? So this is what we have. And what is hash theta? It is how do you compute how many parameters the tool has to estimate? How many values does it have to compute? It is given as number of factor loadings plus number of hash covariances plus number of independent latent factor variances plus hash error variances plus this is measurement error variances and number of structural error variances. So these are all the things that the tool has to compute when you give it a model like this, which we have given in the lead model. Okay, so if we have given this model, okay, for the tool to estimate, how will it run? Okay, so let us compute degree of freedom for this model that we have just run. Okay, so what is K? Can anybody tell me what is K in this model?
10 number of items.
K is 10. K is 10 because number of items that we have E1, E2, E3, L1, L2, L3, TO1, TO2, TO3, TO4. Okay, so it is K plus 1 by 2, which is
55 minus.
so K plus 1 by 2 is equal to how much? It is
55.
50.
5.
Now let us come to hash theta. Number of parameters. If you give it a model like this to estimate, how many parameters does this tool have to compute for this model? So let us start with the first thing. What was the first thing? I said number of factor loading, hash factor loading. So how many factor loadings are there in this model that you see that the tool has to estimate?
3.
3.
Factor loadings. How many? So how many loadings?
10.
10 loadings.
10. Now look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Why not 10? Because I told you that 3 loadings will be tied to 1.
1.
So 10 items minus those items that have been already constrained to 1. So how many factor loadings are there now?
7.
7.
Hash FL, hash factor loading, which for us is going to be 7. Is that okay? Now let us look at hash covariances. Hash covariances. So if you look at this model, how many covariances are there?
3.
3.
There are only 3 covariances. Look at what are covariances? Double direction arrows. So
Arrows.
1, 2, and 3. So you are correct when you say, so hash covariances, hash covariance, which is equal to 3 for us. Okay. Now let us go to the third one. I am writing it as independent latent factor variance, ILFV, independent latent factor variances. Now tell me how many independent latent factors are there?
1.
3.
There are 3
3.
1, 2, and 3. 3 independent latent factors. Therefore, it will have to compute variances for these 3 independent latent factors. Then how many measurement error variances? Tell me.
10.
10.
Very good. Very good. There will be 10. Very nice. Okay. And structural errors. Is there any regression path that we are seeing here? What is regression path? Path between 2 latent factors. Remember this diagram that I showed? Where is the structural? The structural error will always be between, remember this? Structural error will always be SE1 and SE2. Structural error will always be when you will have a path from one latent factor to another
Latent factor.
If you have path from latent factor to an observed item, okay, what will it be? It will
Measurement error.
Measurement error.
be, is this distinction clear?
Yes, sir.
So you will have structural errors when we will talk about 2 latent factors, and you will have measurement errors when we will talk about latent factor to observed items, right?
Sir, in this model, EMP and TO is also a latent factor, like the one we were talking about independently.
Yes, yes. That is why we have written 3. Because there are 3 latent factors, correct? EMP, LEX, and TO. So we have written,
Will be no structural error, right?
So
okay,
then how standard error is,
not standard error, structural error.
sorry, structural error is then
Not
in
there.
There is
Zero.
so in this case it will be
0.
structural error variance. In this case is going to be 0. Is this okay?
Yes.
Okay, everybody. Now let us compute. Now let us compute what is hash theta. So our hash theta is going to be 7 plus 3
23.
plus 3 plus 10 plus
23.
0. How much is this?
23.
This is 23. And so degree of freedom for us is going to be 55 minus 23, which is equal to 30, 32. Now let us check what the tool is telling us. Everybody, please keep your mics muted. Harleen, please mute yourself. Surendra, please mute yourself. Okay, so now what we are seeing, look at the output, number of parameters. So the first thing that the tool is telling us, how many parameters do I have to compute if you are telling me to estimate this model, and this is 23. And we have verified that the tool is doing the right thing, because when we computed by hand, we also got 23 as the number of parameters. Is this okay? Right?
yes, sir.
And then degree of freedom is 55 minus 23, which is 32. And this therefore becomes the degree of freedom of your model, for which the chi-square test will be done. So chi-square distribution for 32 degree of freedom will be checked and the p-value will be found. Is it okay? Right? So this is the meaning of degree of freedom. What is degree of freedom? It says that if you are giving to the tool a covariance matrix, what is the meaning of k plus 1? It says that you are giving to the tool a covariance matrix of 10 items. Okay, so this is I1, I2 and I10. This is I1, I2 and I10. Tell me how many unique elements are there in a covariance matrix. So
10.
10.
No,
No, that's
So other
One,
than
one,
10, other than 10, all would be unique.
right side and on the
no,
left side.
no. You
Right
see,
side and right
Half
side.
of it.
what will be
Half.
unique? Anything that is
Sir, 40.
below
Below 1.
this diagonal.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
this is going everything, all elements here, they are going to be unique. Above the diagonal is going to be the mirror image, because it is covariance. So above the diagonal is going to be a mirror image. So these are all the unique elements. And in any covariance matrix, the number of unique elements is given by k plus 1 by 2. So the tool is saying that you gave me an input of 10 items, and so I have unique elements, 55 unique values, which I can use to estimate this model, correct? And you are asking me to estimate 23 parameters. So how many degree of freedom, in what is the difference between what you gave me and what you are asking me to compute? That for it means degrees of freedom, and therefore it says k plus 1 by 2 minus the number of parameters you are asking me to estimate in this model, and the difference of the two is going to be my degree of freedom. This is the freedom I have. This is the choice. This is the these many. So 32 is the way. There are 32 ways in which I can estimate my parameters differently and still be less than 55 that you have given me. Is that okay? So I can reach, what is degree of freedom? I can reach the same chi-square in 32 different ways and still get to the same value of chi-square. And therefore, I can now tell you what is the p-value and how good is your model. That is what broadly, just to help you understand what we mean by degree of freedom. We give the tool some values of the matrix and we ask it to compute some parameters. The difference of the two is the freedom it has to do these computations. Okay. Now let me give you, everybody take up your pens and pencils and do a small problem. Okay. And the problem is this: estimate the degree of freedom of a model like this. What is the degree of freedom of this model? This one item is tied to 1. Very quickly tell me, what is the degree of freedom of this model?
0.
3.
Yes. So 0, 3. Okay, so I'm writing 0, 3. Look at the formula. Look at what we have just written. Take your time. I give you 5 minutes.
3.
3. Yes, I have written it on the board. My question is, what is the degree of freedom of this? If you give this to the tool, what will the tool do?
So 3. 0.
Yes, I have written 3.
0, sir.
0 also I have written.
0, sir.
Okay. So what is K? What is K for us?
2. 3. Sorry.
2.
2.
So our formula is
3.
K plus 1 by 2
2.
minus
3.
hash theta. So what is K plus 1 by 2 for us?
3.
3.
3.
3 by 2, which is
3.
3.
Yes.
Now let's everybody mute yourself. Mute yourself for now. Please mute yourself. Hash theta. Hash theta is hash factor loading, hash covariance, hash independent latent factor variances, covariances, factor loadings, plus hash measurement error variances, plus hash structural error. Okay, Tapasya, please mute yourself. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Now let us do hash factor loadings. How many factor loadings?
1.
1.
Loading is 1.
1.
1.
How many covariances?
0.
0.
There is no double direction arrow here.
Yeah.
How many independent latent factor
1.
variances?
0.
1.
1.
1.
How many measurement errors?
2.
2. And
0.
0.
0.
2 and how many?
0.
So the number of parameters
4.
is 4. What is the degree of freedom? Is 3
3 minus 4.
3 minus 4.
It is minus 1. This means if you were to give the tool a 2-item factor to estimate, the tool will say, sorry boss, this is not possible. I cannot estimate this model. You are asking me to do more than what you are giving me to do analysis on. You are giving me two unique values, but you are asking me to compute 4 values. This for me is not possible. I cannot run this model. And that is why, if you remember, I told you that you should not have, okay, before I go, let us go to the second problem. Okay, now the second problem. Everybody mute yourself.
May I ask one question, sir?
Sajay.
Ajay, sir. May I ask one?
Yes.
Sir, actually, a measurement error is Y2, not 1, because 1 is already taken in 1.
9.
So measurement error, this is measurement error.
Yeah, why it is taken 2? Because 1, you say 1, I need to exclude.
No, it has to estimate E1, it has to estimate E2.
Yeah, in case of, sir, this 1 is here. In the first.
This is factor loading.
Okay.
Okay, everybody mute yourself, pick up your pen and pencil and do this question now. Tell me, if I give you a model like this, tell me what is the degree of freedom of this model? What is the degree of freedom of this model?
0.
0. So one answer is 0. Any other answer?
Is it -1?
Minus
1, sir. Plus 1. I mean 1. 1, sir.
1.
1.
Okay, let us do it. Everybody
0.
mute yourself. Mute yourself, please. Okay, let us do it again. Let us do it together. So our formula for degree of freedom is k plus 1 by 2 minus hash theta. K for us now is equal to 3. So degree of freedom is equal to 3 into 4 by 2, okay, minus hash theta. What is hash theta? Hash theta is factor loadings. How many factor loadings now?
2.
How many covariances?
0.
0.
How many
1.
latent factor variances?
1.
1. How many measurement error variances?
3.
3. And how many structural error variances?
0.
0.
So what does this come out to?
6.
So your degree of freedom is equal to 6 minus is equal to 0. So the tool will say, boss, you are now playing with me. There is no degree of freedom. Okay, again, I requested you previously, you said -1 degree of freedom. Now you are So again, the tool will run this time, but it will not be able to give you any fit index because chi-square has no degree of freedom, 0 degree of freedom. So this is actually called as just identified. Just identified. This is called as an under-identified model. Under-identified model. Now, everybody do the third example, the last example on degree of freedom. Okay. Now again compute the degree of freedom for this model. I want you to compute degree of freedom very quickly now.
2.
2, sir.
2. So one answer is 2.
2.
2.
2, sir.
Sir, 2.
Anybody else getting another?
2. 2. 2.
2, sir. 2, sir. 2, sir.
Any other answer? No? So what is it going to be? 4 into 5 divided by 2, k plus 1 by 2 minus hash
8.
theta. What is hash theta now? How many factor loadings?
3.
4.
3.
Sorry, 3.
How many covariances?
0.
0.
How many latent factor variances?
1.
1.
How many measurement errors?
4.
4.
How many structural errors?
0.
0. So what do you get? You get
8.
8. So degree of freedom now is 10 minus 8. So the tool says, this is what I want. Okay. Now I can tell you what is your chi-square, how good is your chi-square. Now you can ask me questions about p-value because my degree of freedom is more than. This is called as over-identified model. And therefore, if you remember in earlier classes, I had told you that when you are developing measure for every latent factor, try to have at least 4 items, okay? So that when you will do factor analysis, confirmatory analysis, you will not run into problems of degrees of freedom. 3 items is also possible. Your tool will run, but you will not get any goodness of fit index. Chi-square values will not be reported because the tool cannot have a degree of freedom. It cannot test chi-square for 0 degree of freedom. It does not make sense. Okay, so 3 is possible, but remember you will not get goodness of fit. And the last thing is, if you go in for 2, rest assured you are running into major problems because the tool will not even run. In that case, it will not even estimate your factor model. It will not even give you factor loadings and so on. So a rule of thumb is, for if you are developing measures, you will have to, okay, have at least 4 items. Now, how can you fool the tool? How can you fool the tool if you are having a model like this, less than 4 items? How can you work around? Okay, how can you still be able, if you have less than 4 items, how will you be able to
Introduce one more factor.
So now this is my last example. Now tell me, what is the degree of freedom of this model? what is the degree of freedom of this model?
One.
Sir.
1. Okay. So
1.
1 as the answer. Anything else?
There is a structural error too in this because there is a double error.
1, sir, 1.
1. Any
One.
other?
So one.
So what is k plus 1 by 2? Again,
10.
4 into 5 divided by 2
2.
minus hash theta. And what is hash theta? Hash theta is equal to how many factor loadings? Factor loadings are
2.
2.
2.
How many covariances?
1.
1.
How many latent factor variances?
2.
2.
How many
4. Measurement error.
How many measurement errors?
4.
And how many structural errors?
0.
So what do you get? 3,
9.
9. And so your DF is equal to. Now this, what does this mean? If you have items less than 4, then you will have to run your construct with some another construct so that tool crosses that threshold of 4. Then you will be able to have your goodness of fit indices for your model. Is that okay? All right. So this is how we compute, and what does DF mean and how is it computed in structural models and so on. Okay. So let us go to our output now. Okay. And we did this analysis. We saw this model. And we are seeing that our chi-square is not very good. It needs to be improved because we are getting a p-value less than 0.001. So what do we do? Now there is a command, the last thing that you see is called as mod indices. Mod indices means modification indices. Modification indices. So what do we mean it by modification indices? It means now we are telling the tool, Mr. Tool, I have made this model, okay? Can you tell me what modification should I do to my model in order to improve the fit of my model? Okay, now the tool will give us certain suggestions as to what changes you can do to improve the chi-square. That is, lower the chi-square of your model and improve the p-value. So therefore, I run this command, and the command is very simple. Mod indices for the run fit sort is equal to true. That means report the best maximum, the best change, right? That should come in, that I should do, and minimum. I will just run this command and show what do we mean by this. So the moment I run this command, mod indices, okay, mod indices, fit sort is equal to true. So what does mod, so you see it says LHS, that is left hand side, OP means operator, and RHS. So left hand side operator, right hand side. So what is it telling us? TO1 double tilt TO2. That means the item TO1 and TO2, that means the two items of the task orientation should be correlated, should be covaried. If you do that, if you add this to your model, what is MI? That means your chi-square will drop, will go down. Remember we said we want chi-square to be 0. H0 was chi-square should be 0. So we want the chi-square to fall so that our models become good. So it says that if you add this path to your model, your chi-square will drop by 62. From 118 that it is currently, it will go down by roughly 62. Okay, and the rest you can simply ignore. This is what is most important, the first part. Now, remember, tool is a tool. We are the masters. We are not the slaves. We are the people who have to take a call whether this suggestion we should accept or not. Should we take this suggestion or not? Now, what is it telling us? It is telling us that the model that you have, here, it is saying that TO1 should co-vary with TO2. TO1, that is item 1 and item 2 of task orientation, should be correlated to each other. Now, given that these are items of the same latent factor, that means they are measuring the same underlying dimension, it is reasonable to assume that what they are capturing is going to be correlated, right? And therefore, this is a realistic thing that I can accept. If the tool was to tell me co-vary TO1 with E1, okay, now E1 is measuring EMP, TO1 is measuring TO, that is a little far-fetched thing to say that E1 will correlate with TO, because they are items of different constructs. But if the tool is telling me that if you can co-vary these two items, you will get a better fit. And because these are items of the same underlying dimension, I am willing to take that chance, and I can say that because these are items measuring the same content, it is likely that they are going to be correlated. What is the next thing? It is saying if you co-vary TO3 and TO4, the chi-square will drop by 39. Okay, so as a matter of good design, we will make change only one at a time. Don't say ki, wow, 62 by the first path, 39 by the second path. If I do both, I will wipe off my chi-square in one go. Okay, no, we will not do that. It is always a good idea, because we want to have as clean models as possible. So we will make change only one step at a time. So we will make only the first. The third one, actually the third one is the same. The fourth, if you see, it says task orientation is equal to tilde LEX3. What is this suggestion? This suggestion is that task orientation is actually measured by LEX3. Now the tool is actually changing my construct and my measure completely. It is saying that LEX should measure TO and not LEX. Now that is something I am not willing to accept. So at the maximum, what I will accept is I will accept to do correlation of items that belong to the same factor. Other are suggestions. Thank you for giving your suggestions, but I do not agree with them. So I will not do what the tool is telling me. There are few things that I will accept. There are lots of other things that I will not accept. Is this okay? This
Sir, can you repeat, please?
Repeat what?
Sir, like why you chose to correlate these two?
These are items of the same construct. They are measuring the similar content. They are measuring a common factor. And therefore, it is likely that it is reasonable to say that they can be correlated. But if I have item of TO and I have item of EMP, and you ask me that correlate these two items, that is something I am not willing to accept. Similarly, if you are seeing that my concept is LEX3 is a measure of LEX, and you are saying also draw a path from LEX to TO, well, that is again something I am not willing to accept. Okay, and so that is anyways, the tool told me that the first thing that you do is, if you do TO1 and TO2, your mod chi-square will drop by 62. So that is the next thing that I do. If you go to line number 45, now you see everything is the same. The declaration of the model is absolutely the same. What I do is I also add this line TO1 co-varies with TO2. Everything else was the same. I am saying co-varying measurement errors of these items, or simply you can simply say co-varying these two items and TO1. So I run this definition. I now run this definition and I run my CFA. I do the summary and I look at my. Now you see number of parameters to be estimated has increased by 1. Previously it was 23. Now it has become 24, and our degree of freedom has reduced by 1 from 32 to 31. Can you tell me why?
We have reduced one item, like 2 items. We have
One error
at one
is reduced.
Why has number of parameters increased from 23 to 24 now?
Covariance has to be estimated now.
Very good. Very good. Because we have added one more covariance to be estimated. And what is that covariance between TO1 and TO2? TO2. So number of parameters has gone up. Now there are 4 covariances to be estimated instead of 3 in the last, as in the last example. And 55 minus 24 is going to be 31. So degree of freedom. Now look at what happened just by adding this path. Previously our chi-square was 118. By adding this path, it has fallen down to 61. It has fallen down, and you see p-value has started to go up. P-value was less than 0.001. Now it has become, but it is still not above 0.05, but we are seeing it is gradually rising. CFI has improved further. It has gone to 0.99. RMSEA has dropped below 0.05, so it has gone down to 0.04, and SRMR is anyways there, and we are seeing our loadings are reported again and the covariances. And now you see there is one more path that has been added, .TO1 and .TO2. And .TO1 means the error of TO1 co-varies with error of TO2. That means the error that was there for item 1 and item 2, they are correlated to each other, and the correlation is 0.40. Is that okay? Then I run the command fit measures, so it is reporting all the fit measures at one go. And now because my chi-square has fallen, but it is still not the best. It is still, my p-value is still showing me it is less than 0.05. So I ask the tool again, Mr. Software, do you have any other suggestions to make? Do you want to propose any new suggestion? Now it says, if you covary LEX1 and LEX2, the chi-square will fall further by 27. Now I go to my model and I say LEX1 and LEX2. Again, these are items of the same construct. So yes, I am okay in accepting your suggestion of co-varying these error terms, because they are errors associated with the same item, and because these are items measuring the same content, it is okay to say that the items are correlated, even the errors may be correlated to each other. So what do? I go next in my model definition, and what do? I say, okay, I add LEX1 double-tailed LEX2. Is this okay, everybody? Yes? And now we run this model again, do it and see what happens. and then we run the command confirmatory factor analysis, and I ask the tool to report the summary. Now number of parameters to be estimated has gone increased by 1 again. It has now become 25. By 25,
One more covariance is added.
now has to estimate one more covariance. Now you see what happened. Chi-square dropped from 61 to 34. And God has answered all our prayers by saying that your p-value is greater than 0.005. This means that our chi-square is excellent. We are now failing to reject our H0, which said that chi-square is different from 0. So we are saying that actually chi-square is similar, is very close. If it was to be done in the population, it would have been a 0 chi-square. So we are getting our p-value as more than point. And if your chi-square passes, then rest assured every other fit index would be excellent. So if I run my fit measure, you will see that your parameters are 25, chi-square is 34, DF is 30, p-value has gone beyond 0.05, CFI is excellent, it is approaching 1, which is the ideal. RMSEA has gone down to 0.02. We said it should be less than 0.05. SRMR, again, it should be less than 0.05. It has also gone down below 0.05. And our GFI, again, the ideal is 1. It is approaching, it has become 0.99. It is, okay. And we have our, okay. And this is my final model, CFA model, that I will report in my paper, that this model that I have here provided me, somebody was asking, now what I will say, that this model showed, I will not even say good fit, I will say it gave me excellent fit with the data. What was the chi-square? Chi-square for 30 degrees of freedom was 34 something. My p-value was 0.26. Okay, RMSEA was 0.02. Chi-square by DF you can compute. It will be something like 1 point something. Okay, we said the ratio should be less than 3. CFI was 0.99. GFI was also 0.99. And we say this model gave us an excellent fit, and that we are going to pursue. Right? And now we come to the next thing, which is we will compute this is the model, the CFA model that we have finalized. So now we compute the next thing, which is the discriminant and the convergent validity for this measure, which is computing the AVE, average variance extracted, and the composite reliability, because we want to talk about, through our confirmatory factor analysis, discriminant validity and convergent validity of our measure. So what do? You copy this output, the loading output that we have here. So I'm going to copy my output here. Okay, copy it, and then I will go to Excel, open your Excel, any blank Excel sheet. Okay. Blank Excel sheet, and simply say paste, Control V. Okay. Now you have pasted this data, then don't just keep this column selected and say data, text to columns. At this time, it is in text. We want to work with these numbers. So you have to say whenever you go to, you have to convert text to usable numbers, you will have to say, go to, you will see a tab here, data, then text to columns. Click on this, a window like this opens up. Okay, and then you can even say fixed width. Just say fixed width. Just let it be default. I am repeating again, fixed width. Okay, and simply say next. And you will see it is breaking this text into columns. Again, click next. Leave everything default. You don't have to do anything. Just keep saying next, next, and then finish. And you will see that you have broken the text into numbers on which we will be doing our computation. Is that okay? Should I repeat this again?
It's fine, sir.
This is very easy. Okay, just copy and you will have to bring this into Excel, because now we will compute two indexes. We will have to talk about, we will compute AVE and we will also compute composite reliability. Is that okay? Right? So we will stop here, take a break. We'll come back by around 7:30, 7:32, and we will start computing AVE, composite reliability, and through that testing the discriminant and the convergent validity. Okay.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, I could not get the second part. I was not able to get the output of the second part, what we did.
What second part?
That when we go very TO1 and TO2 and LEX1 and LEX2, that is not coming. Only some blue commands are coming. I am not getting the data.
You are not getting the data.
The tables as you got.
What are you getting in the output?
I am just getting something written in blue.
Yes, sir. The same is happening with me, sir.
Written in blue means?
Sir, actually, all the lines, the different lines are there in that command lead one.
So
they all are they all are coming as a different command, not like in a one.
The table of data is not coming, sir.
So you will have
Ma'am, have you run the fit and the summary command?
Yeah, yeah, I did it. I did it.
No. Share your screen. Just share your screen.
Post
That cannot happen.